Ron founded Nelms Surveying in 1992 and is the principal, is licensed in California, Arizona, and Nevada. He's a past president in 2018 of California Land Surveyors Association, CLSA. He was CLSA Member of the Year in 2015. During that time at Nelms Surveying, he has performed countless surveys that include boundary resolution, topographic surveys, as-built, ALTA surveys. In addition, he is noted for his expert witness testimony in the courtroom, which he provided a couple of those sessions. Let's see, that was week 95, preparing for expert witness. He also, week 96, he and Ron presented on writing and interpreting legal descriptions. Week 91 was rules of retracement, revisiting Brown and Clark. And then week 98 is a very passionate thing for him in California about monument preservation. So he's also the author of Putting Big Sticks by Little Sticks. He's been gifted with 4 grandkids. And for recreation, he plays tennis and pickleball, enjoys reading and writing in his spare time, and or putting presentations together for numerous conferences and or Mentoring Monday. So I love it. I love your support, and I love you always taking the time for us, and looking forward to this conversation as well. So I will turn it over to you, Mr. Ron.
All right. Well, thanks for having me here. I'm a little puzzled that you like hearing from me. I don't know many people who do that, especially with my children growing up. So,
It's our
um,
it's our children and our staff who don't want to hear from us. Everybody else
that's
does.
it.
Everybody else
Yeah,
does.
I forgot about that staff. They don't want to hear from me either.
That's right.
Um, but I don't want to, this presentation, I don't want to keep it as captive that I'm just talking through the whole thing. I really covet interaction. I look at this more as a workshop kind of format that I don't have all the answers to it. So I'm looking for, and some of this I'm kind of looking, am I doing the right thing here? Am I processing it? Is my thought process correct or not? But anyway, I'll kind of get going here. But Trent, I want to just congratulate you. You're on how many did you say this was? 150.
Yeah,
What's
it's
that?
151 tonight. Yeah.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really I want to congratulate you and everybody that works with you to do that. That's just remarkable to me, and I'm honored to be here.
Great support.
And yeah, and you're the betterment of this profession is really good.
Thank you.
Normally, I want to start this off is what I did at the this is replication of the Reno conference, and some of this is especially during the boundary retracement that I did back in week 91. Some of these are same illustrations, but I'm going to try to take a different look at them. I think they're relevant to what we want to talk about. But normally, what I do at the conference is I would hand out these Dewar Chews, and if you ever had, you got to go on Dewar Chews, and I started off by telling everybody that Napa has their wine. And you go over there, and as you go to the wine, you feel the presence of all that's around you. The oak trees, the ambiance, the smell, and they have that on the coast and different things for wine. But Bakersfield has its, and that's Dewar's Chews. When you taste one of these things, if you order them, I can't hand them to you tonight, but if you taste one of these things, you feel like you're in Bakersfield. You feel like on top of a hill overlooking oil fields and sheep herding and cows and you just get this wonderful feeling about it. You might even taste the land in there. But so I can't give you Dewar's Chews tonight, but I do want participation. I hear rumors, or I've heard rumors of another colleague of mine that's in this group tonight who used to do vials of alcohol to prompt them to talk, and we can't do that either. So, and we might not get through it. From what I've heard, is sessions sometimes they just don't quite get through it. But I won't say any things like Rob McMillan or anything. I won't throw him under the bus. Oh, wait a minute. I already said that. Sorry, Rob. Always enjoy it, Rob, too. Let's start this. Anybody know? And again, I just pipe in. I'm not sure, Trent, how to do this. If people just pipe in and just go. Um, I, this quote here is from Maynard Keynes. Anybody know who Maynard Keynes is? Who was he? Nobody?
Nobody wants to chime in.
Nobody's chimed in. He was an economist back in the 30s and 40s. A lot of the philosophies that we have today, particularly is either by Keynes or Hayek, in the different realms of different economy. This is how many would agree that this is an economical statement? He'd rather be vaguely right than precisely wrong. Is this a good statement that surveyors should use? Is this something that would we rather be vaguely right than precisely wrong? Is that what we do? So I want to start off a little discussion about this. What is it we do? Anybody want to comment? No dwarves choose. Dang it! I got to get to dwarves choose. um,
Precision has to do with repeatability.
somebody say,
Yeah, Jerry's chiming in. Yep.
Precision has to do with repeatability. So to be precisely wrong would mean to be consistently wrong, which is what my wife insists that I am. So from that viewpoint, I'd rather not be precisely wrong.
yeah. What is it? So what's the vaguely right? How is that? Is that okay in our profession to be vaguely right? There's no right, wrong answer. I don't know
Jason,
the answer to
go for it, Jason.
I think I'd rather not be vaguely right or precisely wrong. I think it's a bad omen of both sides of a bookshelf that you're being squeezed between.
I didn't quite catch that one. I did. I must have had my volume down. Go, say it again. I'm sorry. What did he say?
It feels like you're being squeezed, like in the Death Star trash compactor, because you really don't get a good option. Being precisely wrong, like Jerry says, is consistently wrong. Vaguely right is just a target for an attorney that just wants to tear you apart. So being neither of those sounds like a good place to be.
Yeah, yeah, I would think too. Well, I'm going to attempt to try to show this video. I'm not sure if the volume's going to come through, but let me see if this go through. Let's see if this works.
I click on one more time. Oh yeah, I was wondering. It's on a different screen, but it's not showing on our side, Ron. He can't hear us because his sound is up probably on that side.
Well, I'm going to stop it there for now, unless anybody's wants to know the bit. But you get the gist of where I'm going with this.
Can you?
Is it?
It didn't show up on our side. Can you grab that link and just throw it in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
And then everybody can watch it after.
Yeah,
that.
let me go back.
Sorry.
Yeah, let me get. Oh, okay. It did not show. Okay, let me go back. Let me go to the back to the PowerPoint. There, that's the link right there. Okay, so that's the link is there. So you guys didn't see it?
Nope, we didn't see it on our side. I was gonna say, if you want to stop sharing, your PowerPoint, and then you could share your screen with your YouTube video on it. You could try that.
Okay, you'll have to walk me through this. Okay, so we go to, let me go to here. Okay, let me try that. Okay, let me stop it. Okay, now how do I share that? Oh, we share it here.
Share. You gotta stop sharing your PowerPoint really quick. Let's see.
Okay, so I got to switch it over
There,
to,
try that.
let's see. I think this is it. Share. Okay, let me try that again. Can you see that now?
Yes.
You can see it. Okay. First, we need to measure.
Looks like he's going to be applying for one of those new topographic licenses in the not too distant future.
Yeah. Threw the link in the chat for everybody else, but you can kind of get the gist, I think, of what the video is trying to portray there.
Now, do we see that?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay. So I'll go back. I gotta go back to my new share, back to the presentation. Okay, so we're back to the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Okay. Any comments on that? I mean, I saw this. Has anybody seen this before? And any comments?
Comes across my Facebook feed almost daily at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Any comments on it? That what you think about it?
I just kind of swipe right through it because I don't know. I don't know if I'm just not interested in it or I just kind of keep moving on. But yeah, it's interesting technology.
I
Well-
think what Ron's trying to get at is the encroachment of just technology and AI into our profession
Sure.
and what will be left for us.
Yeah, exactly. I think that what I saw in this, and is that anybody's going to be able to measure, and how the technology is advancing so rapidly. I mean, this is just a dirt pile for landscaping, but where's it going to go to when they want to do big volumes of work, like maybe a Caltrans or some sort of overpass? Where is it heading to with the technology and these measurements? And so would you agree that it's a tool that we could use? We might be able to use something like this, but where's it going to head where anybody could do a measurement? And so what separates us, for the surveyors, from just being a measurer? And that's where I kind of want to head tonight a little bit, is to go in and start talking about what is separating us. And just because we're good measurers and we're precise in what we do, what is it that takes us? Now, this is some discussions I want to go over with tonight, and these are, I call them Ronisms, only because I just threw them down as what I came to my mind first. And some of the topics I want to discuss tonight is what is the mathematical analysis versus proper retracement. Now, not trying to pit it together, but you have a mathematical analysis. How do those fit in your proper retracement? Is more than that. Methods of old. Methods that were used in the old days, do we know about them and how they were used? And what is the current methods and how they relate together? And then discussion about, are more recent surveys better? A survey that's done today Is it better than the ones that are done of old? Making things up and then making things up to fit your determination, coming in and predetermining where you want it to be, and then you start making things fit to where you want it to be rather than seeing where the evidence leads you. Use of adjoiner deeds. How often do we investigate and do a boundary and we look at the adjoiners and what those adjoiner deeds? The strict interpretation of descriptions. Do we take a legal description and we strictly say, here's the four corners of it, and this is what it's got to be? This is the strict determination of how, if we follow it. Can we deviate from it? Can we go to intent? And then this one's not quite the last one of the last items I want to talk about is this is not quite a boundary retracement, but I think it helps with research in what datum do we use, more of a benchmark situation. So that's where I want to head. I want to talk about these subjects tonight, if possible. So in order to set, I'm trying to set the ground rules a little bit here. There's a lot, everybody knows Clark and Brown and all a whole litany of different books to use and resources to use, I should say, to set us up. And so I'm just picking out a few of these, and this it just kind of where we're going into this. I'm not going to read it all, but I wanted to point what's highlighted: the identification that the primary duty is for the surveyors, the identification of property rights. Does that mean what does that mean? Is identification of property rights? Is a fence a possible property right? Is the building location a possible property right? Drainage. What are the possible property rights? Anybody think of anything? Pipe in if you think of something. Once the dividing line between two lands is located, it remains fixed and unalterable. I think this is key. Once the line is agreed to, it's fixed and unalterable. This is what Clark is telling us. Another one from Clark. The question is to its true and correct boundary is where the surveyor actually found it. Where is it? Where did they actually find that monument? Or where did they find that boundary line? Not where they want it to be, but where did you find it? In determining what the true intent of the original survey was, a retracing surveyor, the surveyor must recover and then examine the evidence that is left of the original survey. So we're going to get a little bit into that too. Don't have all the evidence, but you get some, and so you examine it from the original. That original survey does not identify, it creates them. Principle 3, this is from evidence procedure. A monument is set by the original surveyor and called for by the conveyance as no error of position. Okay, there's no error in position once it's there. Okay, another principle, Brown control is unalterable except by re-subdivision. The boundaries are marked or except by re-dividing agreement. Original monument set on the ground except where there's intent is clearly otherwise. So any comments, questions on those boundaries? Anything else that anybody has or want to talk about on these basic principles? Okay, we'll get into it. Okay, this is one I've used before in I think week 91. I used at the conference. This happens to be, and I thought I fixed this thing, but see this up here where it says east quarter corner? That is, let's see, you're looking at this screen. Where it says east quarter corner, that east quarter's down here. So I'm vaguely right. So this is maybe a vaguely right situation, but you'll see, and I want to the monuments instead of background. Let's see. Let me have some.
The east quarter is on that east line somewhere, Ron. You're vaguely right.
Yes, right. Let me set the background. And if you've seen this before, then speak up, please. This is a subdivision up in the mountains, and all the well-meaning property owners came in and graded out the streets. Okay. What happens to the monuments? They're gone, right? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has to deal with a mountain community where these centerline monuments are gone. So how do you think, given this, all the back lot corners are in, and you have the quarter corners are in, the south quarter, the center quarter, the east quarter is supposed to be down here. That one's not in, but the southeast corner is in. Given the rules we went over, how would you put those centerline monuments in? What would be the rules that you would use based upon the previous? I can go back if you want to.
You always get a quiet group.
I know. Okay.
They
Well,
like
it's
to
going to be a
watch.
short night. It's going to be a short night because this is really hinged upon people interacting here.
Well,
So,
aren't you really stuck with using the exterior monuments that you found to recreate the center lines and the front lines? That's all you have.
yeah. So okay, George, you would take the back lot corners, the back pipes that are original. These are all 2-inch iron pipes, original corners. You would retrace the centerline monuments back in from the back lot corners.
And hopefully that works.
Hopefully, yeah. Okay, but that you would weigh that in, right?
Right.
Okay. Anybody else? Any ideas of how to do this? Now, these are all lots, if I may. There's a bunch of lots in here. They just broke these down to in phases of that subdivision. But each one, there's a lot in each one of these areas here. So how would you put the center line back in?
Is there
Any other ideas?
evidence that fence lines or anything like that is based on what the owners have established?
It's good. Okay. So is there lines of occupation like fences? Would you weigh that into it? Okay. Well, let me tell you what happened here. The homeowners association said that they were tired of grading their own roads, and it was private roads. And they said, we want to go public. So the county's requirement was, okay, do your improvements, right? Pave all your roads and put centerline monuments in according to the development standards. Put monument encasements in. Make a monument, put a concrete monument down, and put a monument encasement around it. Sometimes called lamp holes, we call them around here. And so the association hired surveyors, the engineers and surveying company to come in. And keep in mind, I'm not telling this scenario to embarrass anybody or anything or call anybody out. I just say, oh, that we all can learn from this, right? Well, the surveyor went to put this in, and he basically used the center quarter and the south quarter corner and radiated everything in. You see a problem with that? Speak up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that should get some people to speak up. But yes, that would be, yeah, it didn't weigh in all the evidence of all the existing found monuments or anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. Exactly. Anybody else want to say something about that?
Oh,
They're all open shots. There's no checks on them or anything.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no way to tie back to anything. It seems
Precisely
like,
wrong.
yeah. Seems
Okay.
like on that east line, if the
Over here?
yep, above the cul-de-sac, you
Mhm.
got is the above where the quarter corner is supposed to be? Is the monument supposed to be on the line above?
On
The
on that right of way
north,
line?
no, the
No,
line north of there, where you have a
up here?
monument. Yeah, there. Is that supposed to be on the quarter section line there?
Which
That
one? I'm
monument,
sorry, Rob.
that monument right there where your cursor is.
Right here.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be on the line, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It- they're not supposed to go past the section line. This is supposed to be the northeast corner, and this is supposed to be the quarter corner. Yeah.
yeah,
So
probably construct back down there. Um, to build in where that road crosses that section line.
mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
kind of you
there's
gotta there's there's a lot of stuff missing that you'd have to build in. You might be able to build in, reestablish the east quarter corner and build in the points on the north quarter section line there for the to get to the lots. But yeah, it's a little bit rugged there, Ron.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind there are distances from this quarter corner. There's ties to the right of way lines to the center of the road, even though this corner
Yeah.
was missing. But yeah, there's
It's
so Rob, you're
not
saying
lost, right?
what's that?
It's not lost, it's just destroyed.
That's right. There you go. Yeah,
But
yeah. So so you're saying you may weigh this into. So we've heard lines of occupation, or use the back lot corners or the back the original. These are all original. The surveyor didn't do that. They set these in. So I get the call, and I get the call from lot 83 saying that how we found this is got the call from lot 83 that they moved my corner. I hired a surveyor, and that surveyor is surveyed lot 82. The surveyor that she hired, this is different surveyors that did the centerline monuments. And so lot 83, she says, I hired a surveyor, and this is where, put it right. And then 5 years later, or 8 years later, they lot 82 hires the same surveyor and sets another monument about 2.5 feet away from what he set for lot 83. So when inquired upon why he did that, well, anybody have an idea what he might say? So you have to agree with it, but what he might have said of why he's missing by 2.5 feet, why he's disagreeing with himself and moved the property line.
Yeah, he found newfound monuments.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah, he found the new centerline monuments.
Yeah.
different control, and the way the thing was laid out originally with the radial survey, the farther you go away from your setup point, the more error you're going to introduce into your work. I mean, it's nuts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
assuming he's set up at the south quarter, I don't know. That would really be bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what happened. So I talked to the surveyor, and he did exactly what you said. Discovered these monuments, and talked to the surveyor who did set the monuments out here, and called the county surveyors. And I said, and this is how I said, there's a problem, Houston, out here. And what do you think the surveyor should have done? The one that set all these centerline monuments. What do you think the surveyor? What would you do if you? Unfortunately, you're calling your E&O probably, but let's say this happened. What should be the remedy to fix this thing?
Well, if you go back to your drawing of the lot 82 and 83, I mean, where'd it go?
82 and 8, yes,
You know, setting that center a cul-de-sac from the you know, based on where the lot lines are for those other all the other properties there, try and get something to fit there. And just work in some points and really try and harmonize your solution with the existing land net. I mean, it would take a hell of a lot more survey than just calking up off that west line and spinning them in from 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 feet away.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, and so now, whatever way method you choose, what you're chosen there, Rob, is you're kind of talking about using these other weighing in everything, and I think George and somebody else had said something about losing fences and these back lot corners. Now you know that's the right way to do it. You weigh that in, but how do you go back and reset those monuments, move them, or do you identify they're in place? These are monument casements. Do you amend your record of survey showing where the true center line is? Because these are right-of-way issues as well.
Yeah.
So what is the right thing to do is what I guess what I'm asking.
Well, I think you have to go back in and resolve the whole subdivision, and then go back in and look at your centerline monuments and revise your record of survey for your street center lines, and you're probably going to have to redo deeds and such for the county, because all of that stuff had to have been conveyed to the county somehow to become public streets. And each one of those owners would have had to have taken part in that, it seems like to me.
Yeah, well, these roads have been dedicated, George. I mean, they've already previously dedicated. So the surveyor was to retrace this right away.
Oh,
So I went to see deeds that would need to be done, but so the deed but that's a good point. It could be
new monumentation for sure.
Yeah, it could if knowing that I mean, in this case, there's you're doing a retracement, but yeah, you're right. If you had done this, you may have to change the deeds too, correct? So way it was resolved is, and I'll just tell you how it was resolved, is that the county surveyor told the surveyor to amend his map or do his map and say the monuments set were for improvements, not to be used for right of way, but would only be used for improvements only. Anybody have a comment about that? I'm curious what everybody else has to say about that.
Yeah, I would say. Go ahead, Joe.
How do the improvements fit the monuments if the roads were originally built based on the original subdivision mapping and what was supposed to be done with the lots there? How did the roads end up in the correct place with these new monuments?
Good question. I'm assuming, and I don't know the answer to this, but I'm assuming that the surveyor laid out the roads as well.
Ah.
So these were dirt roads before, and you're talking 2.5, 3 feet. Then he came back in, the surveyor did the road alignment. I'm assuming that's the case. But that's a good point. That does it fit the improvements? I was told it does. But is that going to do any good for boundary retracement?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not. I thought it was not the right thing to do too. Yeah. I thought you'd go in and amend your record of survey. You fix the problem because you're dealing with property rights. And who's going to look at the little note in the bottom of in California? They do a little note at the bottom of the map and said there's a correction. how often do surveyors look at the bottom of that map and see correction deed or corrections or whatever? So, but I think that's important as we do research to look at the whole map and look down and look at the bottom as well and try not to miss, those things. Say, hey, they got a correction here from some reason. What is it?
Mhm.
So, any other comments on this one?
I think I'd like to see what the title commitment package look for this thing after all this
Yeah.
got started.
Yeah.
I missed that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Was it Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd really like to see the title commitment package for this because you're talking a lot of money tied to title that's now changed deeds and everything else. So that would be a very interesting diamond creation from the rear end right there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, okay. Any other comments?
There's just a couple things in the chat about feels like this is what's going to happen with the Palisades fire or the Eaton fire and those kind of things, right? Like with the monument preservations and the wildfires and everything that's happening throughout California, right? The retracement and of reestablishing monuments is going to be a big deal. So falls
Yeah.
right in line with this. Yeah. Go for
Yeah.
it. Jason's got a hand up one more time.
I think in
Well-
light of those fires and this discussion, I think this might be a very golden opportunity for survey to show how important we really are, because this isn't going to be done with drones. This isn't going to be done with cameras. This is going to be done with real surveying and establishing and finding where the monuments that are still existing will be crucial to show that this is why we do what we do. And just because you can walk around a dirt pile with an iPhone, you can't do this with an iPhone. You can't do it adequately to bring the value of what we actually do. And this is why we've learned all the things we've learned how to do. That's my soapbox.
Yep. I could agree. Okay. Then nothing else. I'll go to the next one. Let's see. We already talked about that one. This one I've talked about before. This is a survey that I worked on. Well, actually, I didn't actually survey this thing. It was a testimony or an expert on this one that it was a dream. It's a dream job. It's 160 over 160 hours on this one. I think 6 hours deposition, 6 hours in the courtroom. I loved it. It was great. Now, looking at this is a county perpetuation map. This is the current county perpetuation map. And I want to look at these there, the northwest of 9 and the southwest of 9. Does this tell us which one is the true corner? What's it tell us? And I'm gonna focus on the southwest of 9. So I'm gonna go and zoom in on the next slide. This is the southwest of 9, 2 monuments. So how many section corners do you have?
2. Well, you really only have 1.
1. Okay, so there's only 1 section corner, right? Okay, but there's 2 monuments. Which one is the right one? So how would you proceed? Just seeing what you do here, what would you do to proceed? And if you've seen this one before, you probably know what I did, but what would be, and I don't have the right, I may not have, I'm not saying I know I did right because we won the case, but on the other hand, I want to lead this into what's the right path to take here. You have 2 corners. Do you have one up here, Found Hathaway, 2 7/8" iron pipe, concrete field, copper point, per field book. This is a county field book 357, page 24, and field book 271, page 14. The other one is found a 1 5/8" iron pipe, brass plug, with Myers tag missing 22 inches deep. Myers found 3x3 posts and goes and tells about McMurdo and a miscellaneous map. So what would be your approach to find out which corner is correct or which monument is the one you should use?
When was the original corner set? The original section corner set.
In 1870.
So this 1895 record was within 20 years or so of it. Are there any records for the McMurrobe, is that the 18
McMurdo, yes, there are.
records for it? Now, does his record say anything about the original corner location? He found remnants of the original corner?
That is a good question. That's a good question. And before and that's a very good question. And you're going right down the path I want. I was maybe not wanting to lead you to, but I wanted to make sure that we're going. Okay, so let's go the next slide. There is McMurdo's what he wrote. So we go back. You see Myers finds McMurdo, and McMurdo says this is what is out there. Does he say set, replaced? Does he doesn't say found, doesn't say anything. He just says 3x3 redwood stake painted white mark for the section corner, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What
Go
do
ahead.
the original notes say?
What was originally said at that corner?
Thanks. That's a good question too. The original note says a stake. A stake was set by what was it? I forget. I would think it was Hathaway. No, not Hathaway. The original surveyor, and I forget the name, Thompson. It was Thompson, and he set a stake at that position.
Yeah, I'm glad us surveyors are so detail oriented.
Right.
Well, this is Myers. Myers says I found the 3x3 corner scribed by section township range set by McMurdo. So he finds McMurdo, this redwood stake. Okay, so that's now. Myers was a PG&E surveyor back in the 30s. Go ahead.
He said he found a corner set by McMurdo, but McMurdo doesn't say set or found. So
that's it.
So the presumption. Yeah. Okay, so he's presuming that it was set.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, I'm just telling you the facts here. He says he found McMurdo. Myers is, you're right, saying McMurdo said it, but Myers does not say I said it. He just says there's a stake. So this is going somewhere. Myers, let's go back to Myers. Myers was a PG&E surveyor who accepted McMurdo's corner in the 30s. The county came in and said, you didn't do it right. You should have double propped it. How can you accept it? Because McMurdo doesn't say, he just says a stake. Doesn't say he set, says he's marked it. Myers says, I found McMurdo. You have no evidence that that's true corner. So they said you should double prop. Now look at this is the township. It's right next to the El Tejon Rancho. And all these corners, everything in here was not in position. So this corner lies right here in 8, 9, 17, and 16. So this position is the double prop position. This here, I'll go one slide more. This is the center, but look at how much of this township is going to be affected if this is accepted. All these properties. Now, keep in mind, this is farm fields, ag. Everybody's been relying upon McMurdo and Myers corner right here. Roads go here, everything. The reason the county said this can't be right because it doesn't fit the dimensions. It doesn't look right. See how far, if they prop this all in, and this all looks nice and patterned and everything is square, everything looks right, if the bearings look good, this bearing would be off because you're now you're not going west. You're going off at 88 degrees or whatever. So that the contention is this can't be it because that's not how he did it. So any questions on that? Okay, so what we did in this case is I went back in this case. So let me back up. This is a case where double propping fits better if you use just the mathematics behind it. But what the rules of retracement are, where is the original? So what we were able to do is, in the court case, we showed that Myers found McMurdo, and it was based upon an 1890, I think it was the 1890 manual, government manual, maybe off 1891, somewhere in there, that said that you can perpetuate, you can replace the corner and the methods to do it. Well, we use that. And then there's a 1930 manual that says the best evidence of where the true location is a surveyor. So we expounded on that, said we believe that McMurdo found the original because back in those days when we showed other maps, we brought other things that McMurdo had done in the past. They didn't say found and replaced. Today, we would say, well, he didn't say found and replaced. So therefore, we don't have to accept it because we don't know if he found the original. That's today's standards. But in in those days, you just replaced it. And we were able to show where Thompson did this, not Thompson, but McMurdo did this repeatedly, where he found a monument and just replaced it because that's what you do. So oftentimes we judge history based upon, we go back to history based upon what we do today. And we always, during retracement, always have to look at how they did the method back when they did the survey. And so the court's ruled, nevertheless, the court concludes that McMurdo did find and replace the original monument set by Thompson in 1862. McMurdo would have been required, let me go down, and then he said further, goes, McMurdo would have been required to do so under the guidelines set forth in the 1890 manual survey. So we showed the 1890 manual and said, this is what he was supposed to do. And again, we showed other records of surveys where McMurdo did that. The court based on that conclusion, the court declares that the section line established based upon the 1936 Myers survey, and which is generally coincides with the center line of Herring Road, is a true boundary between the parties. Now, in this case, the problem in this case was how it started is there was a lot line adjustment done, and I'm going to go back and how this now we have this county perpetuation map, and this is the best way to show it. The county, the county, it's gone through, there's a road going right through here in the middle, and it's, by the way, the bearing's not as bad as I thought, 8914. But as they went through this, there's a road going right through here, and there's a road following the Myers monument, the McMurdo monument. To accept this one, there was like 5 acres of land in here in the lawsuit, and there's a well sitting over here in the corner, and these people sued, the people to the south sued, saying that they owned the water rights to that well. And how this all started is if a lot line adjustment was done that called out the Hathaway corner in the lot line adjustment. The surveyor came out and said, there was told surveyor was hired to the south over here in the section to the south, further south than where the plaintiffs were at here, and said, you own 5 rows of your neighbor's, 5 rows of vineyards for your neighbor's property. Thus started, and they asked him, says, well, what do we do? He goes, we'll go to the neighbor to the north. That's our client. And why, in testimony, the surveyor that did that said, well, I used the most recent survey, which was the lot line adjustment. So now that triggered this whole big lawsuit. we the attorney won it in court. I don't want to say we won it because I'm just giving my opinion, right? I'm not winning or losing a case in an expert in a courtroom. The attorney, their side, the defendants won this case. So what went wrong here? Does anybody want to elaborate? What went wrong? We have a lot line adjustment that somebody assumed took the corner and ignored the lines of occupation. Didn't do the research and then go back and find out the pedigree of the monument, of the pedigree, why they were set. It was just the county got to be right. The measurements fit.
No.
So I think that's what's wrong here. Okay. Let's see what else. Any other questions on that one? If not,
Yeah.
I'll go to go ahead.
I was just going to say, pretty hard to argue that the road was on the McMurdo line going east-west. The road was on that line going north-south, and you still pull it off and say the county approved the survey 30 years later or whatever it was. It's 150 feet away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Rob, is lines of occupations important in a boundary? I got a hand up. Is that a hand up from Jason?
Yeah, I've got a hand up.
Yep.
So because these are like rights of way, wouldn't that have been like just a prescriptive easement over the time that it's been used for so long that they can't just go, oh, wait, let's move this because this is easier to do. And you got 5 rows of grapes.
So you thinking the prescriptive was?
Well, I'm just thinking, because if it was there set as a dedicated right of way, and it's been used for so long, they can't just randomly move it because someone made a different measurement 30 or 50 years later. That seems really spurious at best. Like that's a problem just waiting for a problem.
So would you be saying that it's fixed and unalterable once the line is established back in the 1870s?
Yes, unless you have another survey that proves otherwise, and they didn't prove otherwise. They just proved convenience.
Right. Well, there's a lot of money got on this one that was spent on it. That probably, but the county surveyor was happy because this one got resolved because it's always been kind of sitting out there waiting and for a lawsuit because it was like, now we got a judge who says this is it. So.
Jerry's got his hand up too.
Yeah.
Well, it was established early on in the PLS that wherever its corner was set, right or wrong, is where it belongs. And when it's set on the ground, it's unalterable. So wherever the original location of the southwest corner of Section 9 was, is where it belongs today. Prescriptive rights can change ownership, but they can't change section lines. Section lines they were originally established. That's true for any property. Any line that's established by a legal document exists in perpetuity unless it's vacated by some legal process.
Check.
So that's where you get into this, matter of survey versus matter of title issues with surveyors is, are we determining where the lines are, or the title lines are, or the ownership lines are? And then you start to get into the dark side of things, the legal side of stuff.
The dark side, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, this is another mountain subdivision, and I get a call from somebody that's working up in this area and says, I don't think they did this one right. And look at this, so there's some monuments on the outside. Don't know if these corners have been set. If they were, they're probably burned out or gone or, decayed. You have a section corner and so he says, I don't think he did it right. And I go, well, send me, the surveyor's got to file either a corner in California, you got to do a corner record or record survey. So I says, well, send me what he sent you so I can look at it. And this is what I got. This is lot 87 and 90. 87's here, 90's here. This is what I got. So anybody want to talk of it? I'm trying to express what I saw.
Well, that's awesome if he found all the corners of those and
Yeah.
was
Did he?
readily identifiable as the original monuments. Bitchin'.
Well, did he find them?
But
Doesn't look like you found anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a paper survey.
You don't know. Yeah.
It's 100% paper survey.
Looks to me like you found the plot and used that, and that was it.
Yeah.
He found a trailer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Somehow he knows where it's at.
Yeah.
That's an aerial photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
GIS
So-
layers.
So does he say he sent or found anything?
No.
Okay. Is this a standard of practice to be used anywhere? Okay. And
I would say
and I
nowhere in the
asked this
United States.
what's that?
Nowhere in the United States would this be
Yeah.
good practice. If we can agree on that.
Well, yeah, and I go, yeah, there seems to be a problem here. So I said, well, there's a problem. Okay. Well, we found out that I told him, I says, well, he should file a record, a survey or a corner record. This isn't substantial enough. So he needs to file something, submit something more than this. And he did. And I'm trying to keep this where I don't say who the guy is. I don't, expose, but you'll see up here, and I'll see if I can do the zoom thing. Let's see if this will work here. Let's see. Right there. He says, I found the northwest corner of White Lodge, found a 4x4 fence post, and notice where his fence is on the north, and found a 3-inch pipe at an angle point in westerly second boundary as the northwest corner of the White Oak Lodge. So he says, I found this. And the fence goes right along here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So then, but there's another survey out there. And this survey, another surveyor in before him was retracing the properties around up here and just made a note, here's the White Oak Lodge. Here's the center quarter. Okay. And notice there's a fence here. Okay. Let's zoom in on this back up here again. Let's see if I can find this thing. Alternate position. Found a 2-inch iron pipe. I think it's that one. So this surveyor has the fence here. This surveyor has the fence over here. Well, we talked to the owner, well, let's go up and just do a preliminary investigation of what's going on. So what did we find? We found the fence running right along here. Not over here. We found it running from here to this corner down. And I think the corner was over here too, if I remember right. So any comments on that of what I'm finding here? What do you think is going on? Keeping this in mind, there's no right or wrong answer. I have my theories, but I wanted to kind of expound this on everybody's as a think tank kind of thing. What do you think is going on? Because if I'm going to try to figure out what's going on, I got to kind of get it in the mind a little bit. I think I do. But what do you think happened?
Yeah, I mean, it looks to me like he just blew it off that other survey. He blew the fence in off that other survey, maybe.
Yeah, so
and did it wrong, but
Yeah.
he just, yeah.
Do, do you think he actually found that survey for the fence? And I mean, why would he say it's over here? I'm gonna note focus in on something. Here's another little tidbit of information. Look at that bearing. It's north. Yeah, I see Trent kind of cocking his head. So
Okay.
it says
Okay.
north. Cock your head a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's and this map little more visible is north 32, 14 east.
I see the 1327, 11. This guy was precise back then. He got 3 decimal places. And then 1409, 595. If you go back to his survey, there was that same 120 feet difference between all of that. So he's got 1429 minus the 126. Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting how that kind of just exactly everything's fitting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We kind of just I don't know where it's going at this point. I just said, yeah, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And we did go up and we did start the survey. We did start looking at it. We started trying to find these back corners back here, and we're unsuccessful. But we told them, you're taking more time. And they said, we don't have more money. This isn't a very affluent area. So it's sitting out there waiting for someday for somebody to come behind, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Not resolved.
So it's just sitting there. Yeah, it's just sitting there, but there was a record of survey filed. So maybe one follows up. I'm not the guy, the police officer to go chase people down, but did you complete your record of survey? I don't know. I don't even know if the guy finished it. Okay, here's another one that I worked with. How much time we got, Trent? Am I running out of time?
No, I mean, it's 5:06, so we've got 20 plus minutes or better. So
Okay. You want to cut about 5:30. Okay.
somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay, this will go maybe a little quicker. Okay, here's a legal description. This one is the one that I'm handed, the top one. That says beginning at the northeast corner, said southeast corner, said section, then west 50 rods along the north line of said quarter section, then south 80 rods paralleling the east line of the said section. Okay, that's the one I'm handed. The adjoiner, being a good surveyor, what do?
That's right.
You get the adjoiner, right? Okay. Well, the adjoiner says this. Beginning on the north line of said quarter section at a point 825 feet west of the northeast corner of said quarter section, then south 80 rods, then west 10 rods, then north 80 rods, then east 10 rods. So, what's the difference?
A lot.
Okay, tell me what that difference is. What's the difference between the two deeds? Are they going to be coincident? Are they going to line up if you just take them mathematically as you see it?
Maybe.
As I said, the first one doesn't even look like it. I mean, well, there's not enough courses to seem like it closes, but
well, I chopped it off down at the end. I'm just getting you to the common line between the two.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's going west 50 rods. Then and along the north line of the quarter section, then south 80 rods paralleling the east line of the section. This one starts 825 feet, then south 80 rods, then west 80 rods. You see, how would you retrace these two deeds if they're independent? Just that line between them. Anybody want to chime?
I was going to say, at least the 50 rods and 825, those line up.
Okay. But here's the key word, paralleling the east line.
Yeah.
Okay. What's this say? West. And if you're just going to take the deeds, would you take it perpendicular?
Yeah, that says then south and not parallel. Yeah.
Yeah, it says, yeah, the key difference here is this says parallel the east line. The call is to parallel to the east line of the section. This one here says it's beginning on the north line. Then it just says bearing calls, west, south, north,
Yep.
you know.
So
So
which one's senior?
There you
good
go.
question,
Yeah.
George.
Nice.
That's a very good question. It was a little ambiguous of which one was senior. There was a deed. This deed got conveyed but never recorded. This one recorded first, the top one. This one got conveyed but didn't record till like, I think it was like 9 years, 10 years after this one. So it was conveyed in a deed but never recorded. And depending on the state, you know, California, I think, is a race state.
Perhaps it was Nevada.
So this would be, you know, it depends on your state. But there's more to this than just that. So then the senior, junior, seniors, that was an element that was taken into place. I did a record survey. This was done way back in the 90s. Okay. And what happened was, as I'm going to go to this one, let me go back up here. This is the line we're talking about. Okay. The surveyor, they were putting in a facility here. And I'm not going to name who it was, but it was a big government facility. They hired a surveyor, and the surveyor went down here and went right angles, and there's a fence right here. Took that fence out, went right through the middle of a right of way. It's taking this stuff all out, and these people call me and they says something's wrong. And it was all a matter of interpreting the deeds, whether it was parallel to a street, in this case in Oswell, or was it perpendicular to the street to the north, which was Virginia. So I made my claim of what I thought it should be based on deeds and based on lines of occupation. If you look here, maybe I can zoom in on this is what happened. Here's a block wall, came back here, notice an apartment building, about 1.5 feet over the line. Now, for you young people, we used to use, back in the 90s, we used Leroy kits. This is a Leroy lettering. So this is back in the 90s, and I had Leroy kits. But so if you do think this strange kind of font, it's kind of fading in and out. Well, that's a Leroy kit. Some of you guys, the older people, know what those Leroys are. But that's what we found, is that this block wall was over. Here's the chain link fence that came over, and this is what we found on it. But it was all because the surveyor looked at the deed and went with his deed right here only. Didn't weigh in that the joiner had a parallel deed. And if we go here, all these properties that are in here, these parcel maps, were all done parallel to Oswell. Everything in this whole area was parallel to Oswell. Even on the west side was done parallel to Oswell. The only deed in this whole area was this, what you just saw, was this right here. The west, north, south. All the others were calling parallel. So if you just take the deed by itself and not look at the adjoiners, you don't get a fix, and it caused a lot of heartache and a lot of grief here. Any questions on this? No. Okay. Okay, got another one. This one's the deed that I was handed, and you look, this is the same owner, parcel 1 and 2. And you look, and to see, if you look down here, it says parcels all lots 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 in block 101 of the town of Mojave. This is lot 10 in block 101 of the town of Mojave. And it says that portion described as follows, right? That portion of lot 10 and this portion here. So this says beginning at a point on the westerly line of said lot 1200 south to the southwest corner of said lot 10, then easterly along the southerly line of said lot 75 feet. It's northerly parallel with the west line of said lot 42 feet, 0.42 feet. Then westerly in a direct line 75 feet more or less to the point of beginning. Okay. I'm going to ask the question, beginning at a point on the westerly line of said lot. Which lot are we talking about? Anybody want to say just on the deed itself, no right or wrong answer? Well, there is a right answer, but what lot is you think it's talking about?
Well, it has to be lot 10 because that's the only one that's referenced in the caption.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Now, we did the survey, and I want you to focus up here. This is kind of the area. You see, this is just kind of the lot 10, and these are just the work in progress maps. So don't scrutinize it too much. It's just work in progress, right? With all the point numbers on it. And then, so I want to focus in here on, let's see. Okay. It didn't quite focus it right. Okay. Let's focus this. Did it wrong again. Sorry. Okay. Okay. There's the south line of lot 10. Here's the building line. It's a tenth. The building is a tenth south of the lot into lot 10, right? The building goes here, the lot line is here. So if this south line lot 10, this is lot 11, go back to our deed. It says portion lot 10, so it's only in lot 10, right? But lot 10 this is the south line, but the building's down here. So if I survey according to the deed, it would be this bold line up here, right? Let me zoom in again. So if I did it according to the deed, where's the deed line, right? It goes right here, 1200s to here, into the building. So what do I do?
When you're done with this one, I have a follow-up because I'm dealing with something very similar right now. So
yeah. Well, and if anybody, so this says lot 10. So do I take the strict adherence of this legal description, or do they mean to go into lot 11? Because it's some reason the 1200s to me was a kicker to me. Says it wasn't like 1 foot or 2 feet. It said 1200s, which this comes out a tenth, which I think I'm pretty close to a 1200s. So am I vaguely right, I guess? And then, so wouldn't I, in my record of survey, what should I do? Should we tell the owner, hey, your building's on our property? Or do we take it as going down 1200s from the lot and say the building's online? And notice it's over here too. The building's up here. Here's the south line of the lot. So is this a case where I interpret the deed and say, it really meant to go this way? What's everybody's thoughts?
Is there anybody still around who was there when the building was erected?
That's a great question. And that question, when I presented this in Iowa, they asked the same question. And what they said is go find out when the building was built, when it was built, and then when the deed was conveyed. Yeah, I haven't found out yet. So So that's a good question.
Yeah,
When
that
was
would
the
be my
building put
first
in?
thought. Yeah.
What's that?
In the description, back up the description.
Okay. Do I have a question there or is it just okay? So
Oh,
anyway, that's what I went with, that there was a just the interpretation that I had to interpret it. That it was, they meant to go 11. They just kind of got it. We fixed it to a record of survey.
Ron, I think Jerry was asking if we could go back to the description.
Yes. Okay.
I was just looking to see if there was enough information about the rest of the description in a line that can give us an indication, a better indication of what was actually going on in the westerly line. Well, because since the beginning at a point in the westerly line of said lot, which is 10, we're assuming 0.12 feet to the southwest corner of lot 10. So is that supposed to imply that you're starting 0.12 feet north of the southwest corner of lot 10?
By
That's
the
what it
deed.
seems like to me.
Yeah, that's what the deed is saying. Start north.
Mm-hmm.
You start up here, you start here and go north. That's what the deed says, right? But the building's down here.
Point north of the southwest corner of lot 10.
Yeah.
So you're going south to the southwest corner of lot 10 from the point of beginning.
Right.
Okay.
So it should have said a portion of lot 11, 10, 11,
Mm-hmm.
should it have said that? I didn't have the kahunas, whatever you want to call it, to tell them your building's on our property. I didn't want to go that path. So I went to least resistance. Is that right? Is it wrong? Am I being vaguely right?
If you would have went to 3 decimal places like the last survey, you could have.
That's right.
I guess the answer hinges on if you got paid or not.
That's it.
Yeah, it gets. We are kind of. I would say we're kind of in the similar situation where, very similar. Where less than the 10th, or 10th, 1500s, the old days, right? Depending on when this was surveyed, the old, minus 30 millimeter prisms, right? Like there was such a difference between that. Today, where we can do a lot of direct reads and things like that, you can measure a little bit better. But so again, goes back to one of your very first slides. At the time it was constructed, at the time it was surveyed, what was the equipment used, right? I mean, there's so many different variables that come into that. So, but we got 2 different scenarios that I'll kind of piggyback on this one, but I have something similar to this.
Did you want to talk about it or?
Oh, when you're done, I see what everybody else wants to chime in on, but.
Okay. Well, I'm almost okay. So this one here is and has to do more with datum than anything else. Okay, so this is a flood study that was done. I'm not going to say the river, but you might know what the river it is. A flood study was done in this whole area on NAVD 88 datum. There's a county benchmark here. And I'll suffice it for sake of time. A county ran a level loop down this road and around in here and dropped off a benchmark. A whole mess of flood certs were done using the county benchmark. So be careful you get on the right datum. This is the NAVD 88 datum, and they didn't match. And I'm not going to tell you how far they don't match, but they don't match. So you got to be careful that you're on when you're doing and that you're getting the research is done properly. And I got another one, same sort of thing, the USCS benchmark. The problem with this one is here's the flood study. The problem with this one is there was subsidence. So do we use this? It calls out with an elevation, but there's been subsidence in this of almost a mile and a half away. And I suspect, I shouldn't say there is, but I suspect subsidence because this does not match this, and this is lower than these over here. So do you use the flood study, or do you take the strict adherence of the benchmark in your flood study, or when you're doing your elevation certificate? So really, I just wanted to point that out in this, that you know the datum, make sure you understand that there's other qualities just from making a measurement. It's not just about making a measurement and getting it, because you could be precisely wrong by using this benchmark and bring it over here, and you could be wrong, could flood on you. Maybe. I know this thing hasn't had flood for a year, and I don't think it's been ever years, but it may not ever happen. But it's just the importance of knowing the data, doing your proper research, knowing the area and what you're working with.
I think that's going to become so much more relevant coming with 2025 datum coming out, and or 2022 coming out sometime in 2025. But yeah, this is going to become a lot more relevant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and there's still some that use 29 datum, and in fact, I think this one was they went off of 29.
Yeah.
And to do this flood study.
There's actually quite a few out in the West that still use the 29 datum. Yeah, which by the time we get back to 2022, we'll be very close to 2029. So.
Well,
yeah.
Well, and up here, good luck finding a FEMA bench.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Well, and there's a lot of oil companies out here that are still on 29 and 27 datum. They insist that they get you end up doing both, but so you have a fix between or something between them. Here's one that says when a deed doesn't close. Have you ever run into a deed and it doesn't quite close? So the question is do you try to fix it? Let me go back here. So before I do this, if you have a deed that doesn't close, do you try to go in and fix the thing? I mean, how do you have a deed that's given to you? The approach is this is what you've been given. When you're retracing it and it doesn't close, what do you do? So this is one in Ventura that picked up, and I thought it was kind of relevant. All these, you look at these, beginning at point on the center line and it goes through and it describes the point, where to go to, the deeds, the adjoiner deeds, and describes it. But and it does close, I found out. But there was a surveyor I was talking to, and they did the calculation and says, this thing doesn't close. Does it matter? And that's the question. Does it matter if this closes or not? If it makes the call to the adjoiner, does it matter?
Nope.
And if you don't understand when it closes, you start at one point and come back around and it comes in the same position. So it's a question, not a rhetorical one. It doesn't matter if it doesn't close, but yet you got all the calls.
No, if it's got all the calls there, then the bearings and the distances can become informative terms. They would yield to the higher elements, which would be the calls for the adjoiners and the monuments and that type of thing. You don't have to worry about it is if you had a free line that doesn't have a controlling term associated with it. Then you got to look for things like, is there a transcription of digits or something like that caught as a transcription error as opposed to a survey error?
Yeah, exactly, Jerry. Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. But yeah, it's just because the deed doesn't close doesn't make it. Is it retraceable? Right. First thing, is it retraceable? Can you retrace it? And I think that's the key element. Sometimes we get fixated on something not closing, and just word to caution. Sometimes these things won't. So you have to deal with it.
I think
so. I have a couple of. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that rolls perfectly into your next presentation, right? So.
Yeah. Setting it so people can follow you. I have a couple of pet peeves. Okay.
That's only wrong. That's only wrong if you don't have cats. If you have cats, that paper roll that says it's wrong is correct.
That's funny. That is funny.
It's okay. Yeah, I like this one. Okay, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I get these. I begin seeing a lot of these, and this was started me thinking about: are we doing proper retracement? This is number of maps I'm getting from surveyors, and this is their basis of bearing.
Oh boy.
What am I missing here? I'm an old guy and I'm doing, I chase boundaries, and I look at this and I go, what am I missing?
Oh, this is not correct because NAD 83 is a datum. It's not a spatial reference system. It's not a coordinate system. It's either
Okay, thanks.
based on
Thanks.
plane coordinates or UTM coordinates or whatever. But NAD 83 coordinates in and of itself is a nonsensical term.
Agreed. Yes. So I'm not going crazy. There isn't some new way of surveying today that I missed somewhere along the line. So, yeah, we all agree. But expound. How would we expound on this? If you want to use NAD 83 coordinates, somebody enlighten me a little bit. I think I know the answer to it, but somebody enlighten me how you throw a NAD. If you want to use NAD 83 coordinate system as your basis of bearing, what would you need to put on here so that somebody could follow you?
So go ahead.
A formal coordinate system like state plane coordinates. And now I would say that all bearings are grid based on Wisconsin South Zone state plane coordinate system based on NAD 83 or NAD 83 parentheses 2011, depending on which realization or which epoch that we're using. But basically, you have to state what is the coordinate system that you're using and to what datum realization is that coordinate system referenced.
Yeah.
And you might want to reference some monuments that it's based on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going crazy, so we're here. The second one is kind of in the same line. Elevations shown are based on NAVD 88 datum. I've seen this.
Yeah.
And not a single elevation shown on the topo map. It's just contours done by licensed surveyors. And am I going crazy?
Nope, you're not going crazy.
I lost something here. Okay.
No.
All right. Yeah.
You hope that you hope it was
What's
just
that?
somebody's drafter did something wrong, and they didn't check it right. That's what you hope is
Yeah.
there was an oversight, but yeah.
If you don't describe monumentation that your information is based on, specific monumentation, how is anybody going to come up with the same answer? They can't. Or at least it'd be pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
You have to say what you did and how you did it, bottom line.
You would say too that you want them to follow you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of the whole thing.
Yeah. And I don't think I wouldn't want to think that it's somebody trying to keep, because what happens to me is I get this and I have to go back and say, I need more information. I can't do this job for you.
Yep.
And maybe you go back to the one who drew this up, but I hope it's not on purpose to get the next phase of the job, which, you know what I mean? It's just trying to that job security that they got to go back to them. I hope that's not correct.
We should all know better.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Here's one that's a pet peeve. I saw this and I go, it goes all this bearing, all this stuff. And then it says together with the underlying fee, if any, in the adjoining Peterson Road.
Okay.
What in the world?
Yeah. Anything wrong with that?
Yeah,
That must have been written by a title company.
No, it was a surveyor. It was a surveyor. I'm not gonna tell you who, but I,
Yeah. Hey, Ron, that sounds like the underlying fee clause that we used a lot in Caltrans to clear up any fee title when we were doing the acquisition.
okay. If any,
That's
I,
Yeah, because we're not going back through the records to see if there's any, but we're going to be acquiring it just based on it being under Peterson Road.
that's basically a way of quit claiming it.
Yeah.
Saying where
I'm not big on acronyms, but that looks like a CYA to me.
sufficient research to determine if there were any rights in there.
Funny.
Yeah,
well,
and that's sufficient research is one of those things when you're dealing with clear cut records on one parcel, but when you're dealing with 400 parcels, and who knows if the underlying fee was ever acquired, then or if there is any underlying fee, that's really what that's for.
okay. So would you say this is acceptable, Rob? I'm not clear here.
It's a standard practice at the in some places. How's that?
Yeah. Okay.
I think it looks very lawyerly written, because if a surveyor wrote it, the surveyor might have gotten some advice from a lawyer, because that looks like an overwhelmingly easy thing to defend because it's so vague. Because there might not be, but there might be.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Wisconsin, ours minimum standards say that you will perform the survey according to the records of the Register of Deeds. So that means if there is any underlying fee that's documented, you're supposed to find that in your research. If it's undocumented, you're not going to find it. Or if it's prescriptive, that's not your decision anyway.
Right.
So you don't say if there is any, because there could be any based on adverse possession. That's not your call. If you're not going to do the research, I don't think this can be your escape clause.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. I kind of think the same way, that either I know or I don't.
Yeah.
If I don't, then don't write it.
Yeah.
You know, this is don't do it. If I know, in this particular case, I know that they did because it was an easement. But okay, so that's really all I had. I got any questions? Any comments? Did you want to share something there, Trent, or something you said at the end?
Well, we'll see if anybody wants to kind of chime in on this particular one. I love the thought-provoking presentations. Those are always the best. And finally we got some to chime in a little bit, so that was awesome to get that at the back end. So
yeah, I'll send it. If you send me an email that you want Doors Choose, I'll get it to you. Okay.
Oh yeah, there you go. I love that.
Yeah. So say, hey, I asked some questions and I talked. Send me some Doors Choose. And here's my contact information, and of course, I got to do a shameless plug about my book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a story. You see Carl Cedabaka, if you know him, he read it. He said he liked it. So if Carl likes it, it's got to be good, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
But it's a play on words. It really is a play on words. You're putting big sticks by little sticks. We put little sticks in the grounds, and we put these big sticks beside it, and those sticks tell a story. And this is just telling how mentors came in my life and went through, and all the different crazy stuff to becoming a surveyor. But anyway, if you want a book and you really, I'll send you one. You don't, if you want, but you can get it on BookBaby, Amazon, Kindle. It's almost on all of them. So if you're looking for it, so anyway,
I had lunch with Carl last week. He's back up in northern Nevada now.
Yep.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get together a lot more often. But great presentation, Ron. This
Sure.
is a classic demonstration of why we all drink.
Well, then you go to Rob's sessions and he has the vials, I
I
think.
threw out the mini bottles. Yeah.
I don't want to contribute, so I do dwarves candy. So
Oh,
anyway, thanks for letting me come on. So
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I threw in the chat the link to your book on Amazon as well. So Jerry just said, so do I want to talk about my presentation for Roundtable Tuesday? So the thing that I was going to correlate with was we have a survey now that we're doing that was mapped the building was constructed in 1964. They made like a bunch of suites, so individual suites. In Nevada we have commercial subs, and so they individually mapped each unit within it and office space and that kind of stuff. Well, by doing so, they ended up the building encroached into the right of way by 4400s. So then they vacated the right of way where the two building jogs jumped into the right of way to clean it up. So here we are now, 2025. They're getting ready to demo the entire building now and construct a new building. So for us, we want to clean up the rights because the building won't be encroaching anymore. So now we want to dedicate back 4 years later. We want to dedicate back those 4400s back to public right of way, clean up the right of way, clean up the parcel lines, and then do a record of survey to wipe out all the interior lot lines and all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's funny sometimes how, like you said, I mean, depends on when the building was constructed and through history and time, things will get, wiped out all the time. But yeah, here we are, 4 years later, the building's getting demolished and now we got to clean up all the right of way and, what we feel would be right to clean it up and then give the right of way back and that kind of thing. So
Hey,
all over 4400s.
yeah.
Trent.
Was it the municipality or the county that was putting up the fight over that 4400s?
It was a county building on top of that. And it's,
Oh no!
and it's
Come
still a
on!
county, and it's still a county-owned building.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I
Hey,
know.
Trent, before
Yes,
you
sir.
go to all the trouble,
Yeah.
so did
Bill-
Brett Lane do the survey?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, this was in 21, so yeah. Go
yeah,
for it.
before you go to all the trouble of
Rob.
rededicating the right of way and everything,
Yeah,
get the new building built.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's what we should do. That would be funny, but yeah, I love it. I love it. Good stuff. I always great presentation, Ron. You do an amazing job, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Next Monday is Memorial Day, but then we'll be back kind of for our one and only session in June. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a second one in June. I'm not quite sure, but we are going to do a couple of roundtable Tuesdays. One next Tuesday after Memorial Day. And it's all about employment expectations from a young surveyor's perspective. And then we're going to skip kind of 2 weeks, and then we're going to go June 10th, and we're going to do employment expectations on behalf of employers' expectations of those coming in that we're hiring. And so maybe we can get Ron back on that panel as an employer on what he's hiring. So those will be
happy to.
We're going to have a few panelists, but kind of like what we did on the last one with Jerry and Kyle and all of us, we all kind of chimed in and all really did it. We'll have 4 or 5 different panelists, but it's always open to everyone. But those will be that'll be a great presentation as well and great conversation. So like all of these, but amazing, great stuff. Anybody got any more questions or thoughts for Ron before we let him go?
Thanks, Trent, and thanks,
Yeah.
Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great stuff.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Awesome, everybody. Have a great week. Have a great safe Memorial Day, and we will see you back next Tuesday for Roundtable Tuesday. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.